All right, cool. All right. Anyways, yeah, zooming has been sent. Okay, we're good now. So, chat. Is the volume good? Yeah, it should be good. All right. So, if you guys take a look at gold here, right? So, you're gonna notice that the monthly on gold here, right? So I gotta start from the monthly. I always have to, especially whenever you come to the charts and you're just like, you don't know what's going on because you just woke up and you need a little refresher of what's happening. Like I always start from the monthly, no matter if, even if like it's not gonna affect our trades today, right? We know that, but it's good to have a refresher every day of what the market's kind of doing for the weekly, for the daily, because it affects, like as you go down, like we see it all the time. Like every time I break down the monthly, I go down to the 4 hour or the 1 hour, and then I'm like, oh wait, but that's the same level as the monthly. So maybe we're coming down today for the monthly on a wick, or maybe coming down today for the monthly flip, whatever it is, right? So it helps. It definitely helps, because those are your aha moments, right? That's when you get, or that's when I get my aha moments a lot. When I break down the higher time frame, then I go down to smaller, then I'm like, wait, but this equals that and that. Oh, okay, I see how they kind of line together, right? So it's always key to do so. So if you guys take a look here at the monthly, you're gonna see that we are still in this range here, and I'm pretty sure you guys have heard the same analysis almost every morning, right? When I start the monthly off, but this is what it is. There's a monthly resistance here at what level is this? There's a monthly resistance over here at the 2000 level, right? And then there's a support down here at the 1760. So this is the range we're in, right? Obviously for the monthly, you never close below the range or above the range, right? You close bullish, right? So this is the current monthly candle or previous monthly candle. You close bullish, but never closed above, right? So what that indicates is that any given point, right? Since we're still below his resistance, and you had a previous candle that closed back into the ranges, and then you had this candle that closed back into the ranges, bearish candle, and then now you have this bullish candle that's still respecting this resistance, right? Any given point, what can happen here is you can just easily come up, create a top wick, because it's bullish, right? So it's likely going to create a top wick, and then once it creates a top wick, it can close back into the ranges. Because if you end up closing bearish for the month of August, right, then next month should be your algo month to continue pushing down. We thought the algo month was going to be this month, which was I think June or May. What month was that? Yeah, June. But it never pushed that heavy. It pushed like from 1960 to like 1893, right? But it wasn't anything major. So same thing with this month as well. We closed bullish, right, this month. So it needs to create a top wick, and then it needs to close bearish in order for us to continue pushing down. Or it might just even create a top wick and break the lows to drop down towards the next support for all I know, right? We could end up pushing down for the monthly instead of closing bearish for the monthly. So I mean, this is a possibility still, but again, you need a top wick. So understand, top wick areas I'm looking at probably for the monthly to tap into like 2000s, which is this resistance here, right? There's levels of rejections that you had here in the past, right? This wick here, these wicks here for top wicks, right? So I'm expecting for us to create a top wick, tap into 2000, 1980 or 1990-ish. Before making a decision on where it wants to go, because it needs to grab liquidity before it starts to make a push down or make a push up even, right? If it were to make a push up, then this is your liquidity to go up. This is your bottom wick already being formed. So if it flips bullish, then obviously it's going to drive up, right? But creates the top wick, breaks the lows, likely going to continue pushing down. That's enough information needed. So that's the monthly. The weekly here is pretty bearish as well. There's a resistance right here. If you guys zoom in closely, you guys gonna see that there's this level right here formed. So level here at 1960, right? Your next support is down here at the 1860. So let me just zoom out, because I think there's some wicks we can pay attention to here. So yeah, so look left there. There's obviously this resistance here. You closed last month respecting resistance. You closed bearish as well, indicating that you have found resistance. Any given point, you could look to mirror this push down, right? Because that's what happened last time as well. You close bearish resistance, push down, and your target was roughly into these areas here to the left, 1920. So that's a possibility for the weekly, right? That's a possibility for the weekly, to drive down towards those levels. Just keep in mind there's areas of rejections here. There's areas of rejections over here, So any given point, price could reject these levels, but since yesterday, you created a low, you tapped into these levels already. Today's price sort of just made its way back down again. So think of it as like, this is the I'll say the weekly time frame right now, right? Like you sort of, let's say this is the candle yesterday, right? So yesterday's candle was something like this, right? This is the candle, right? It came down, made a low, and then it pulled back, and now it's coming back down to re-break a low. So just imagine this is one candle movement, right? So it's like, okay, the weekly, this is where Monday started. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, which is right now, right? So you're sort of re-breaking the lows. So if you can notice that, like, if you notice that, like, what that candle is really doing in terms of price action, because as you see this form, right, as you see price moving up, down, pause, right, you're gonna see that the lower time frame is forming some type of fake out, some type of it's pulling back, right? It's pulling back and then it's coming back down to re-break the lows. So that just indicates a pull. That just indicates a fake out, or it indicates that we're coming back down to retest the lows. Again, you have to understand these things when it comes to price action, because you have to understand what part of the cycle you're in, right? So if it's the second half of the weekly, it's, you know, it's nearly Thursday here, you have tomorrow, and that's the weekly candle close basically. If you're re-breaking the lows, there's a high chance today you could come down towards 1920, right? So let's drop down to the smaller time frame. Let's drop down to the daily. You're gonna see the daily close bearish below the range. Now here's my issue with this, right? The daily closed below the range, and the first thing I noticed was that there was no bottom wick on this candle to the left. So I'm like, okay, cool, great. There's a high possibility that high possibility that you could come down to create that bottom wick, right? Because you closed below the most recent support, which these candles to the left have never done. Now in the past, right, price did come down as well. Like in the past, you did see this push coming down last time it closed back below the ranges. You see in this closure, and then you pop down towards where you came down, you tapped towards like these areas to the left, right? So I'm expecting the same thing to happen, but my concern here is I've told you guys, like, the last 3 months, right, I've noticed on the higher time frame, whenever you close outside the range for the first time, the next candle doesn't really drive, but the one after does end up driving. So I wouldn't be surprised today if price starts to sort of not range, but it doesn't really make a push down towards those areas, but tomorrow it does, right? Because today's candle, for all I know, could just come up, create a top wick, come down, break the lows, and then end up closing bullish, respecting that resistance like this, right? Like any given point, this can happen. And if this happens, guess what? It's gonna happen tomorrow. Tomorrow's NFP. So if NFP is tomorrow, you're likely gonna see the push and mirror down tomorrow like that. That might be tomorrow's candle. But as long as you can close respecting 1940 today on the daily time frame in about 9 hours and 19 minutes, you're good for tomorrow to drop down. Well, we'll see what tomorrow does, but likely you're good for tomorrow to push if you do end up being bearish tomorrow, right? But understand that. So I'm expecting a top wick here. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I think yesterday I even drew it out. I was on a call with a bunch of devs on about the website, and I took a screenshot of kind of what I was expecting yesterday. Because if you guys drop down to the 4-hour candle, right, you guys gonna see that, okay, so remember how I told you guys, like, you need to tap levels in order to create direction, because you need liquidity, right? Whenever you're looking at price action, you need to tap major levels before you make a decision on what price wants to do next, right? So that's why we've been adapting to this style of trading, because there's more room for error, there's more room to take advantage of advantage points and such, right? So same thing when it comes down to breaking down your pairs as well, right? Understand that, okay, yesterday what happened? You had a huge push down yesterday, which was right here, right? This is your huge push down. Then what happens afterwards, right? So this is your push down yesterday from like 19.56 to like 19.34. You had a huge push down, and then you gotta pull back at one point. You can't just continue to push down, right? So areas where you can pull back at are areas that you have minor support and resistance, right? So there's obviously a support here, there's a support here, there's a support down here. Like, these are your 3 major levels that you're tapping into, right? You can indicate this as a whole zone, honestly. You can just put a level here saying, yeah, that's a zone of, you know, supply and demand or whatever, right? And this is your supply and that's your demand, right? Cool. But you gotta pull back, right? So areas where price will react at are likely to be these areas here. Now, yesterday what happened was price closed by the end of the session. I think it closed around here, right? So it closed here, closed like slightly below its range here. So I'm like, okay, cool. It closed below. It's a very weak candle closure, so the chances of us driving down is very likely because of the way the forward candle closed. It closed like very weak, right? No bottom wick as well. So what that can indicate is that price at any given point could come down, tap into 1931, because that's your next major zone here, right? 1931. You can tap that area and then start to make a decision afterwards, right? And that's why now you see movement, because all of a sudden last night you're just ranging. You're ranging. You never tapped 31. And then all of a sudden people last night got impatient. They're like, okay, cool. What did I wait for? Buys above here, sells below here, whatever, right? And they take sells below 1931 because they see a breakout. But understand the higher time frame is showing that there's a support here, right? So at those areas is where you're likely going to reject. And that's what happened. Price started to reject, and then it closed bullish above its range here. So at any given point, this 4-hour candle could be creating a top wick for the daily, because the daily doesn't have a top wick. So as this candle starts to make its move up to fill the top of the range like this could happen, right? Your next resistance is where? Your next resistance is up here. And I'll say there's a high chance that you're likely going to tap that area again, because you need to tap certain levels before you start to make a decision on where price wants to go next, right? So your next resistance is up here at 1944. At some point, you got to pull back. You got to pull back. You either got to tap this area to grab liquidity before driving down, or you got to tap the area to make a decision to go back up, right? But either or, like, you have a support formed right now at 1934, right? Your next major resistance is going to be at 1942. So this is the range you're in, right? So these are your only two scenarios here that can play out today, really. You can either come down and close below the range like this, which is unlikely, but the possibility with news, this can happen, right? And then next candle drives down with the daily, right? That's like, that'd be amazing. But understand that this can also happen as well. You could come up and you could just fill the range here, right? Because again, price needs to grab liquidity before driving down. If price were to grab liquidity before driving down today, it's likely going to be at the next major resistance, which is 1942. So this can happen. You can come up, tap those areas, and at any given point, just fake back into the ranges, and then that'll be your push down, right? But at least after that happens, you have liquidity to drop down, right? But it's very rare where you'll just see price just, you know, like constantly move down without pulling back, without starting to range, form structure, right? It's all part of structure, creating lower highs, all that stuff, right? So 1942, pretty strong level, I'll say. So you guys are asking, well, Don, how does that affect the 10 pips we're gonna catch? I'll tell you guys why, right? Because if we're now expecting like 1942, 1940 get tapped there, I'll say 1940 is a pretty decent target, because look left, there's a lot of rejections there as well. We can look for buys towards 1940. So I think earlier the 1-hour candle opened up bearish, right? And then it created a bottom wick, and then it started to flip. I think it made it high, and then it came back down, retrace, and then it came back up to retest the highs again. Now, depending on how this 4-hour candle closes, or this 1-hour candle closes, at any given point, since this is your overall range here, right? As long as you can close bullish at the support here, the next candle creates a bottom wick here, right? If you can create a bottom wick on the next candle like this, on the ADM candle, you create a bottom wick tap in 1934, I'll look for buys at 34, because I'm expecting this candle to continue a flip. And even if it doesn't flip bearish, right? Even if it doesn't, even if it doesn't flip bullish and it just ends up continuing to push down, before it pushes down, it's gotta grab liquidity before it driving down anyways, right? Because you're at the bottom of the range. So if this were to happen instead, and we weren't to flip bullish, and we take a wick entry there, right? You need to see a candle print, you're likely gonna see a candle print something like this next. And that top wick on the next 1-hour candle will give you a chance to exit, give you a chance to get out, right? So yeah, if you can close bullish at the support here, you can come down. If you can break the lows, that'd be perfect. But if you could just come down, tap into 34, I'll look for buys on a new 1-hour candle, because I'll have range going up from 34 to 37, 38ish, and it'll look something like this, right? You're expecting something like this to form, right? And then this candle will, like, if it does end up pushing, it will close above the range, and that closure above the range is what? A range 1 fake out on the hourly candle. So going back to what I said earlier about needing to grab liquidity on 1942 on the 4-hour time frame, right? And on the daily time frame, creating a top wick. As this is happening at the same given time, all that is really is just a fake out on the 1-hour time frame, So that might be a little more clear for you guys since you guys are more used to that play. But I'm trying to explain to you guys the in and outs of AUD time frames as well. So if you can tap 42, 41, I'll look for that's where we're looking to target. And then after 9 a.m., 9:30, whatever, after news comes out, we can look for more sells if price does end up closing back into the ranges. Right. So the next 2 1 hour candles are gonna be very key. So it's kind of gonna indicate what the 4 count is gonna do. Because right now the 4 count is like bearish but has no top wick. Again, it's gonna, if it closes, depending on how it closes, it's gonna affect the way the 9 a.m. count pushes, and then we'll get positions afterwards with more confirmations. All right, chat. But yeah, that's it for today's analysis. I'll say pretty straightforward. Yeah, you can just kind of mark your zones up really and just chill because we know what we're looking for. We know we're taking trades off. There's a 1 hour candle. My only concern is there's news at like 8:15 or 8:30 today. So we'll see. If off rip, then 1 hour opens up and the first thing it does is just push down towards 34. The first like 2 minutes of the candle or 5 minutes of the candle at least. Great, amazing. But if it's like 8:15, 8:20, you're cutting it a little too short or too close. So therefore I'll stay out. All right, chat. Yeah, there's that analysis, man. Pretty straightforward. Now it's just about waiting for price to actually move and start to pick where it wants to go. But yeah, that's the type of like whenever I come to a charge chat, I'm telling you guys I'm lost half the time. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But once I start to do my analysis and I start to break down pairs, I start getting ideas of what's likely gonna happen. Yeah, I have a better visual idea in my head, so I'm more like more comfortable in my positions and all that. But even yesterday, when I first came to a charge yesterday, I was lost. I was like, I don't know what's happening today because the markets weren't moving yet, right? But once you do your analysis, you just have an idea of what's sort of to happen.